Right. Today I will be conducting the lecture as online mode. I can see you. You have attended physically. That's good. So I will be conducting lecture remotely today. Right. We will start the lecture as the time is past by 8. So better to start because we have 3 hours. So others will be joining, maybe physical students as well as online students will join. We'll start the lesson. Today I will be discussing financial instruments. I hope I'm audible enough, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
can hear properly. And can you see my whiteboard? Let me show you. Can you see my whiteboard? Financial instruments. Can you see this?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
right, you can see, right. When it comes to financial instruments, there are a couple of standards. I know you already learned from other lecturers, Rangajiva sir or Upendra sir. You have learned some of these standards, right? But in this particular class, corporate reporting class, we need to touch impairment of financial assets as well as hedging instruments. Hedging instrument. So I would be giving a brief introduction on all these standards rather than just focusing on the required things, right? So you have learned around 6 months ago, therefore sometimes you need to refresh about financial instruments stuff. Therefore, I will be taking you through on from the basic content I will be discussing, right? When it comes to financial instruments, there are a couple of standards as I mentioned earlier. First one, LKS 32. LKS 32, financial instruments presentation. Financial instruments presentation. Then second one, LKS 39. I will explain the history of this standard. This is financial instruments recognition and measurement. I'm sorry. Financial instruments recognition and measurement. Then next one, SLFRS 7, financial instruments disclosures. Financial instruments disclosures. Then new one, SLFRS 9, financial instrument. That is the name of the standard. Financial instruments. Right, now I will brief you the history of LKS 39. LKS 39 was the standard which we were using to recognize and measure financial instruments, right? But this particular standard was very complex, very complex. In financial asset side, I will write in red because this is no more. This is no more. දැනට මේක නැහැ. මම කියන්නේ මේක තිබ්බා. I'm explaining the history. I'm explaining the history. Financial asset, there were 4 categories. There were 4 categories. Held to maturity, available for sale, loans and receivables, and fair value through P&L.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Right? Financial assets were categorized into 4 categories. Okay, 4 categories. Categorizing financial asset into these categories complex. There were conditions to be satisfied in order to categorize into health maturity. Likewise, there are a lot of things to be considered at that time, right? Because of the complexity of the standard, what IASB did was this the many or the sections related to recognition and measurement, section related to measurement and recognition and measurement deleted, eliminated from LKS 39, right? This standard only focuses on hedging instrument, hedging. Now this standard focuses only hedging, remember, right? This standard available. This is not withdrawn from the list of standard. This is available right now, but many sections of the standard related to recognition and measurement eliminated.
VT7 இல்லாம இது எங்க குரூப் பேர் VT3 என்ன ஆக்கிக்கிறான். அது எங்க குரூப்ல மட்டும் தான் மூணு பேர் இருக்கிறோம். என்ன சொன்னா எங்க குரூப் தான் கெத்தான குரூப். 3 பேர் இன்னும் வேலையை முடிக்கணும் டக்கன்ட்டு.
Mohammed, I think your mic is muted, unmuted. Who is that? Smart board, right? Okay, right. I was explaining standards related to financial instruments, right? Now LKS 39, I was telling you, only focusing on hedging instrument, derivatives, forwards, forwards, futures, swaps. I will be touching, I will be explaining them. That we'll do that. That's important for you, right? How to account a hedging instrument. Hedging instrument, hedging item, hedging effectiveness. So we'll discuss that. Okay. Now, SLFR is now there is a what do you call gap? No, there is a gap when sections related to recognition and measurement eliminated from LKS 39. We have to have new standard. So what was happened? IASB issued new standard, that is SLFRS 9. That is SLFRS 9. So SLFRS 9 focuses on recognition and measurement. Even though that is not reflected in the title of the standard, this SLFRS 9 focuses on recognition and measurement. Recognition and measurement. Right? Now, from LKS 39, these two things deleted and introduced new standard SLFRS 9. Make sense? Did you understand? Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Right, that is clear. Right. So I will be touching LKS 39, even though you have learned In the previous semester, you have learned LKS 32 financial instruments presentation. Even though you have learned, I will be giving some, I will give important things of LKS 32. Then I will be discussing SLFRS 9 financial instruments recognition and measurement. In the same standard, financial, they have mentioned how to impair, how to account impairment of financial asset. Impairment of financial asset, right? Then we'll discuss financial instruments disclosures, SLFRS 7. Did you learn this standard earlier? Did you learn this standard earlier? Sometimes not, right? So this is purely theory, no any calculate, but you have to have good understanding about disclosures of financial instruments, how to make a disclosure for financial instruments. So that is a kind of skill that you need to improve when it comes to develop related disclosures for financial instruments. So we'll touch that one as well, right? Okay, let me begin with LKS 32. LKS 32. Okay, take 2 pages. Even though you have learned, I repeatedly saying, even though you have learned, you can take this summary as well. Then you can refresh your knowledge in terms of LKS 32. LKS 32, write down the topic, financial instruments, recognition and measurement. Sorry, financial instruments presentation. First, we need to focus on definitions. The standard explain definitions, given definitions. First, we need to discuss what financial instruments are. What financial instruments are, right? Then we should discuss financial assets. Then we should discuss financial liabilities. Then we should discuss financial equity. Write down, please write down. Right. I hope you have written this. Right. What is financial instrument? Tell me. What is financial instrument? I will go to next page and explain what is financial instrument. Financial instrument means one entity, something should be an asset. Let's say entity A. Entity A, something should be an asset. Right? Asset. Same thing. Let's say there is another entity called entity B. Same thing. Now, entity A, something should be an asset. Let's say fixed deposit. Entity A has deposited money in a bank, FD, right? That is a live asset for entity A. No. How about, let's say entity B is a bank. We have deposited our money in this particular bank. So that cash should recognize as a liability. Liability for entity A, something should be an asset. Same thing should be a liability or equity. Liability or equity for entity B, right? So I gave this example as, for entity A, something should be a asset, should be an asset. Same thing should be a liability or equity for entity B. Now, in this example, FD is asset for us, entity A, bank, that is a liability, right? Okay, I will give another example. Let's say we invested, entity A invested on ordinary shares, investment, ordinary shares, ordinary shares, will OS. For entity A, that is an asset. Let's say we acquired those ordinary shares from entity B. That means entity B has issued ordinary shares. When entity B issue ordinary shares, how those shares are accounted by entity B? Is that liability or equity? That is liability, equity, right? When entity B issue equity shares, ordinary shares, that could be accounted as an equity, no? For entity A, that investment as an asset. Entity B, that is an equity. Make sense? තේරුණාද ඒක? හැදෙලිද? Is that clear?
Yes,
Hello, is that? Yeah, that is clear, right? Okay, now you can give me many examples for financial instruments. Many. Another thing is there should be a contractual agreement, contractual arrangement. Contractual arrangement between these two parties regarding the contract, regarding these assets and liabilities, equity. There should be a contractual arrangement between these two parties. That is also inside the definition, right? Please write down this chart. Entity A, entity B. There should be a contractual arrangement. Something should be an asset for one entity. Same thing should be a liability or equity for another entity. Please write down this. Then you can refresh your old memory. Right. Okay. Now we'll look at the definitions of the standard. Okay. Hope you can see this slide. Right. Financial instruments presentation in case 32. These are the learning outcomes. These are the learning outcomes. Okay. And at the end, you'll be able to explore the objective of the standard, scope of the standard, definitions, and compounded instruments. Hope you have learned compounded instrument. Did you learn compounded instruments? Compounded instruments means, convertible debentures, convertible preference shares. There is a, there are two components, equity component as well as liability component. This standard explains how to differentiate equity component and the liability component. Did you learn them? Did you learn them? Matakada putalata. Igana gattada. Did you learn? Matakayak තියෙනවා නම් කියන්න yes කියලා. Compounded instrument, did you learn? Convertible debentures, convertible preference shares, did you learn them? මතක නෑනේ.
You can explain a little bit, sir. Very good.
Now let's say there is a, entity is issuing convertible debentures. Convertible debentures in sense after some time, those debentures will be converted into ordinary shares. Right? Okay, I will explain like this. Let's say earlier entity issue 100 debentures at, let's say, 2,000 rupees. Then what is the total value? 200,000. 200,000. Right? Now, this is a debenture, convertible debenture, convertible debenture. Now, you would say this 200,000 will be recorded as a liability. Now, cash debit, no, cash debit, 200,000. Normal debenture, yes, that's liability, financial liability. You will be recording to, you will be crediting to liability, no. But this case, this is convertible debenture. Convertible in the sense, after, let's say, the maturity is 3 years. After 3 years, the investors are given ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. That's why we are saying convertible. Parivartanaya kala haki nayakara. That means it consists of both liability component as well as equity component. Did you learn this? Now this 200,000 should be divided into 2. Should be divided into 2. මේකේ මෙතෙන්ට වැටෙනවා equity කැලලකුත් එනවා. There is a equity component. Did you learn this? මතකද? ඔබ බලන්න ඔයාලගේ මූන් ටික මට පේනවා. You can see you. Did you learn? මතකද නැද්ද? ඉතින් කියන්නේ නෑනේ. If you have not learned, I can, take some time and explain. If you have learned already, I can, just go through. That's why I'm asking whether you have learned or not. So one can say whether you learned or not. Matak again. Okay, you can discuss and tell me whether you learned it or not. Did you learn it? There are three answers. Yes, no, anitaka mataka naha. Anitaka mataka naha. Ek. Forgot. Igana gattada kiyala mataka naha. Hari මොකක්ද උත්තරේ? තුනෙන් මොකක්ද දෙන්නේ? It seems you forgot, right? Forgot whether you learned it or not. Okay, I'll take that one, that answer. I assume that. Right, okay. I will explain from the beginning. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Okay, we'll go to slides now. Okay, as I mentioned, these are the standards. These are the standards currently available. These are the standards currently available for financial instruments. LKAS 39 focuses only hedging. Focuses only hedging. Many things deleted, as I mentioned earlier. Already you have written it. Right. This is the objective of LKS 32. This is the objective of LKS 32. Objective of this standard is to establish principles for presenting financial instruments as liabilities or equity. That is indicated in the objective as well. If there is such instrument, we should know how to differentiate equity component and the liability component, right? And for offsetting financial assets and financial liabilities. So this is the objective of financial instruments presentation standard, right? Scope. Remember, these are exempt. Exempt in sense these are not inside the scope. These are not inside the scope of LKS 32. This standard shall be applied by all the entities, all types of financial instruments except HARA. Except these things. Why? There are specific standards. There are specific standards for these specific things. Now, for an instance, interest in subsidiaries, associates, joint ventures. There are standards like this, no? SLFRS 10, LKS 27, LKS 28. So we need to focus those standards when it comes to subsidiaries, associates, joint ventures. So therefore, these are except or these are not included in the scope of LKS 32. Then employee rights, obligations under employee benefit plans. There is a specific standard, LKS 39, LKS 19, employee benefits. Then insurance contract, SLFRS 4. SLFRS 4. If there is an insurance contract, it seems, by definition, one entity there should be an asset, another entity there can be a liability or equity. Then you would say that is a financial instrument by definition. However, even though there are such similarities as per the definition of financial instrument, there is a scope elimination. Almost all standards, they mention the scope of the standard. So we should know the scope, right? We should know the scope. Okay. So SLFRS 4, insurance contract, as there is a specific standard for insurance contract, we are not going to focus, we are not going to recognize, measure financial, insurance contract as per LKS 32, right? Then share-based payments. There is a separate standard, SLFRS 2. SLFRS 2. Right. Shall we write that one in the summary as well? Then you have, yes, scope of the standard. You can rake your red pen, scope of the standard. And from here we can eliminate. That's why I'm writing in red. So we are writing things eliminated, things exempted from the scope of LKS 32. You can write investment in subsidiaries, joint ventures, associates, SLFRS 10, LKS 28, SLFRS 11, LKS 27, separate financial statements, then SLFRS 4, insurance contracts, then SLFRS 2, share-based payment, then LKS 19, employee benefits, Please write down those 4 items basically out of the scope. Those are out of the scope of LKS 32. Right. Then what we can do is we can discuss financial asset definition, financial liabilities, and financial equity. No need to write them. So we'll go through the standard. Financial instrument definition. Financial instrument mean one side that is an asset, another side that is a liability or equity. Okay. Financial instrument. So look at read the definition. Read the definition. Is any contract that gives rise to financial asset one entity and financial liability or equity instrument of another entity. So financial instrument, financial instruments, basically there are 3 things: financial asset, financial liability, financial equity. So all these 3 words are defined in the standard: financial asset, financial liability, financial equity. Can you take these 3 things in the second wing of the standard? Financial instrument is a broader term. It consists mainly 3 things: financial asset, liability, and equity. Please write them. Want to make one? Hope you have written this. Now we can go to our definitions in the as per the standard. Right. Financial asset is any asset. Cash. Remember, cash is by definition that is a financial asset, right? Cash, because it is given in the definition of financial asset. By definition, that is an asset, right? Or equity instrument of another entity. What do you mean by this? Equity instrument of another entity means what? If you purchase ordinary shares of another entity, that is an investment for you. That is an investment for you. So that is asset for you. That is asset for you, right? So that's what definition indicated. Equity instrument of another entity, or contractual right that is to receive cash. Again, you have contractual right to receive something, so receive cash or another financial asset from another entity. Let's say you have sold goods to another entity. Have sold goods to another entity on credit. Again, so you have contractual right to get cash or another financial asset. So that is receivable. Debtors. Debtors can financial asset. Debtors can financial asset. Receivables, trade receivables, financial asset. එක තේරුණාද? Did you understand that?
Yes, I can.
Contractual right that is to receive cash or another financial asset from another entity. If you wish, you can write down a example. Debtors. Here, equity investment, ordinary share investment. And the last one, or to exchange financial asset or financial liabilities with another entity under conditions that are potential favorable to the entity. If we are exchanging financial assets and liabilities with the favorable conditions, that is a part of financial asset definition. Right. Okay. That's the definition of financial asset. Now we'll go to financial liability. Financial liability, when you define financial liability, you should know there is a contractual obligation. That is the word, important word. Contractual obligation. Contractual obligation. To deliver cash or another financial asset to another entity. Deliver cash or another financial asset to another entity. Let's say entity has issued debentures. Entity has issued debentures. So we have contractual obligation to deliver cash, right? At the end of each and every month, we should pay interest. And at the end of the lifetime of the instrument, maybe 3 years, 5 years, we should pay the principal amount as well, right? So we have an obligation. There is no practical ability to avoid from that. There is no practical ability to avoid, right? If you have an obligation, let's say you have obtained a loan from someone, can you avoid it? No, you cannot avoid. You should pay. After 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, you should pay based on the agreement, right? So here, financial liability means there is a contractual obligation to deliver cash or another financial asset to another entity. This one has been given now. When we are exchanging asset and liabilities with another entity that are unfavorable to the entity. අවාසිදායක ලෙස යනවා නම් ඒක liability පැත්තටයි එන්නේ. වාසිදායක පැත්තට යනවා නම් there is an asset, right? That part mentioned in the financial asset as well. Okay. Right. Equity instrument. What do you mean by equity instrument? Equity, already you are aware, asset equals equity plus liability, no? Equity plus liability, no? If you want to derive equity, what you should do? Asset minus, now this part can be taken on next side of the equation, then sign will change. Asset minus liabilities would be getting equity, no? So more or less similar thing given here. Equity means residual interest of asset after deducting its all liabilities, then you'll be getting equity. Equity is any contract that evidence residual interest in the assets of the entity after deducting all of its liabilities, then you would be getting equity. So remember, equity is a balancing figure. Equity is a balancing figure, no, asset minus liability. You'll be getting equity. Is that clear? Is that clear? පැහැදිලිද ඒක?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Moving on. Fair value. Fair value definition is given as per SLFRS 13. So that is in our syllabus. I will be discussing SLFRS 13 in next couple of weeks. As per SLFRS 13, fair value has been defined like this. Fair value is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability in an orderly transaction. Orderly transaction means normal. Normal day to day, there is no any forced things. There is no any forced things happen. Normal, and under normal conditions that should be sold. That should be exchanged. Something like that. That's an orderly transaction. That is the meaning of orderly. Orderly transaction between market participants, වෙළඳපොළ සහභාගී වන්නන් at the measurement date. Right? So these items are very important, right? Receive to sell an asset, pay to transfer liability, orderly transaction, market participants, measurement date. So these highlighted or underlined phrases important for this definition. Now you should understand that. Right. Moving on. Right. A PLC buys ordinary shares of B PLC with the intention of selling them when market prices rise at the end of the year. Right. A and B. A PLC buys ordinary shares. B PLC. Now, can you please identify financial instruments of all these entities A and B? Can you please do that? I will give you 2 minutes. I will give you 2 minutes. Please write. Right. Okay. Entity A. Balan uttare dinadu finance ordinary shares. APLC, the financial asset, because they are the people who invested on ordinary shares. So financial asset for BPLC issuer equity instrument. I hope you understood. Take your red pen and mark. Right. Example number 2. APLC buys 3-year fixed interest corporate bonds of BPLC as prevailing market interest rate are attractive. You should say A and B. A and B. Right. Write down. Right. Okay. Corporate bonds, financial instrument. First, you should identify whether there's a financial instrument or not. Right. Then individual entities, A entity and the B entity, APLC and the BPLC. APLC is the holder, that's financial asset. BPLC, issuer, financial liability. Right. Moving on. Then you should know what are the examples that we cannot recognize as financial instrument. We cannot recognize as financial instrument. You can take your red pen and write not a financial instrument, not a financial instrument. First one, physical assets. Such as inventories, PPE, property, plant and equipment. Those are physical assets. Now look, just think inventories for us. That is an asset for us. No? Is that liability or equity for another entity? No, that is not a liability or equity for another entity. Therefore, that is not a financial instrument. Right? Then prepayments. Prepayments. Let's say you have paid 500 rupees additional to electricity board. That is prepayments. Is that Is that now by definition you could say yes, that is a financial instrument, because for us that is an asset, electricity board that is a liability. But is there any contractual arrangement? Did the electricity board ask you to pay additional money? No, you paid additionally, right? So because of that issue, prepayments could not be taken as financial instruments. Remember that, right? Look at this. Financial assets, physical assets, inventories, property, plant, equipment, then prepaid expenses, deferred income on the income side, deferred income, and most warranty obligations. These things would not be taken as financial instruments because of that contractual issue, right? Not a financial instrument. Then liabilities or assets that are not contractual in nature. Contractual in nature, there is no such agreement, contract between those two parties, but there are assets and liabilities, right? In that case, we cannot take them as financial instruments, right? Okay, please write down. Then I would be discussing presentation. Now, this is the main, that presentation part is reflected in the title of the standard as well. Presentation. Remember, the presentation purely based on substance of the contractual arrangement and the definition. Look at this. Presentation. Substance of the contract and the definition, right? Substance of the contract and the definition. Then I wanted to discuss liabilities and equity. Liabilities and equity, right? So liabilities and equity will be differentiated based on substance of the contract as well as definition. Right? Look at this. Liabilities and equity. Read this. LCase 32 requires that financial instruments issued by an entity are presented as financial liabilities or equity according to their substance, not merely their legal form. So we need to see the substance of the contract rather than legal form. The classification of financial instruments as liability or as equity depend on the following. Substance and the definition as I asked you to write. Please write them in the summary as well. Please write them in the summary. You have to have nice summary. Then you can see the connection. Okay. Now I should discuss compounded instrument. Compounded instrument. I hope you have enough space there. I'm happy to a compounded instrument, or else we'll write same place. ඔයාලා erase කරන්න එපා හොඳද? මට පේනවා සමහර අය erase කරනවා. Don't erase. I erase because of space issue. Compounded instrument. Last wing of the standard. Right. Now, compounded instruments, I already gave you some examples. Within bracket, you can write convertible debentures. Convertible debentures, convertible preference shares. convertible debentures, convertible preference shares. Okay, right. Tell me, if there is such compounded instrument, what are the steps that you should follow? What are the steps that you should follow? Based on earlier example, we received 200,000. How to differentiate equity component and the liability component? How to differentiate equity component and the liability component? What are the steps? Can you just tell me? Please speak up. The physical but unfortunately I could not attend physical class because today my daughter's birthday. Therefore, there are some arrangements today. That's why I could not attend physical class. But next week onwards, yes, I will be attending physically. Okay. Yes. Can you please guess and tell me what are the steps that we need to follow in order to differentiate equity and liability? Equity and liability. What are the steps? Kiyan balan kawra kata karan mata ahena oyala kata karne එක. Last row එකේ ඉන්න පුතාලා දෙන්න මගේ උත්තරේ වෙන කතා කරන්න නැතනේ. Tell me. Red t-shirt. Yes. Anyone in the class? What are the steps? මතක් වෙනවද ඔයාලට ඉගෙන ගත්ත කලින් කියන මතකද? Did you learn them before? If you have learned them, you would say, yes, these are the steps that we should follow. Yes, the first row, pink color student, pink color student. What is your thought on this? කොහොමද අපි කරන්නේ? Don't worry about the language. You can tell me. සිංහලෙන් හරි ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් හරි දෙමළෙන් හරි කියන්න. No issue. කොහොමද කරන්නේ? Anyone in the class next to pink student? Red color student, red. I'm sorry, I'm identifying students by color. ඊට පස්සේ පෙළේ ඉන්න දෙවෙනි පෙළ තුන්වෙනි පෙළේ ඉන්න red color student. කැමරා එක වදින ටිකට විතරයි මට පේන්නේ. යම් ප්‍රමාණයක් පේනවා. හරි කොහොම හරි I'm not going to put you in trouble. Okay, I will be explaining. Please listen carefully. Remember, when there is such instrument, let's say debenture, convertible debenture, as per the agreement, there are obligations. There are obligations to be settled. Based on the agreement, year 1, year 2, year 3. Let's say this is year 4 debenture, 4-year debenture. Then there are liabilities to be settled. No, we should pay interest. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. At the year 4, we should pay the capital amount as well. Right? Year 0, we are getting cash, 200,000. We are getting cash. So these are, this is capital, 200,000. Then interest, we should pay interest. This capital amount again we should repay. Hmm? Now these interest and the interest payment and the capital repayment, is that liability or what? Is that liability or what? As per the agreement, we should pay them, right? Let's say we are the issuer. We are the issuer, Arali entity. We have issued convertible debentures, 200,000 worth debentures issued. Now you are wondering how this 200,000 is recorded. Cash debit. Where to credit? There are two accounts, equity as well as liability, right? Remember, now these are known factors. No, we know the what do you call interest. We know the interest to be paid. We know the capital to be paid. So if you are given such precise information, what you can calculate first? What you can calculate first? මොකද පුතාලට පුළුවන් calculate කරන්න? Priority should be given to equity or liability. Priority should be given to equity or liability. Huh? You are so silent. Huh? Priority should be given to liability or equity. Huh? Priority should be given to liability. Remember, මෙන්න මේ liability එක හොයාගන්න ඕන පුතා. We should calculate liability component first. Liability component first. And I believe මෙතන first we should calculate first FIRST. First we should calculate liability component. First we should calculate the liability component. Please keep that in your mind. Then when you calculate the liability component, equity component could be received as a balancing figure. So equity component is the balancing figure. For an instance, මම උදාහරණයක් කියන්නම්. හිතන්න මේ ටිකේ once you identify the cash flows, these are cash outflows, no? You should take the present value of them. You should take the present value, PV, right? And when you calculate present value, let's say this is equivalent with 180,000 rupees. Then what is the equity component? Proceed that we have received 200,000. Liability component 180. So what is the equity component then? What is the equity component then? 20,000. That's what I said, balancing figure. 20,000 is the balancing figure. Okay. If you have any questions, you can raise. You can ask any question. You can disturb me at any time. You should ask questions. You should ask questions. එතකොට මෙතන දාන්න පුතා ලක්ෂ 2යිනේ cash received 200,000. Cash received, cash account debit 200,000. Liability credit 180. Equity 20. See, total debit side and the total credit side equal. Total debit and credit equal. Now I will be asking very important couple of questions. There is a convertible debenture. Convertible debenture. There is a debenture without conversion option. Without conversion option. So you should think about the interest rate. Interest. Let's say convertible debenture interest is 10%. How about this one? The same debenture but without having conversion option. Interest is higher than 10% or lower than 10%. You should think, you should discuss with your friends and tell me. I will give some time. Yes. What do you think? Now, convertible option rate is, convertible debenture rate is 10%. There is the same debenture without having conversion option. Rate would be higher than 10 or lesser than 10. Online students also can answer. ඔයාලත් ඉන්න එපා නිකම්ම පොඩ උත්තර දෙන්න. Physical students also can answer. කියන්න බලන්න රදුනාට කමක් නැහැ. You should participate. Don't worry about the accuracy of the answer. You should participate, please. Higher or lesser?
Lesser.
Lesser. Okay, okay. Good answer. Hari. එතකොට පුතා කියන්නේ 8ක් වගේ ගෙවයි කියලා නේ. Any other answers? Any other answers? ඔයාලගේ thinking අනුව කියන්න ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඔයාලට හිතෙන විදියට කියන්න. Don't worry about it. So I already received one answer. You said lesser. Hari, hari. අපි ඒකෙන් එහෙනම් ප්‍රස්තුතය පටන් ගමු. We'll discuss on that. hari. ඒ කියපු නෑ ඕනේ නම ඕනේ. මෙහෙම හිතමු. Now let's say you have 500,000. That student has 500,000. Now you have to have investment to be invested. ඔයාට ඕන ලක්ෂ 5ක් ඇතිරේකව තියෙනවා. ඔයාට ඕන investment එකකට දාන්න එක. දැන් ඔන්න ආයතන දෙකක තියෙනවා debentures issue කරනවා. හරිද? One entity A is issuing convertible debentures. Convertible debentures. හරිද? Entity A is issuing convertible debentures. Right? Okay. එතකොට මේ ලක්ෂ 5 ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒකට. එතකොට ඒකට ඔයාට ගෙවන්නේ ඉන්ට්‍රස්ට් එක 10%යි. 10% is one of benefits to you. One of benefits to you. Conversion option is benefit or not? If you invest convertible debentures, you can get some ordinary shares at the end of the day. At the end of the term, you can get some ordinary shares as well. Right? That is that benefit or not? Is that benefit or not?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a benefit. In addition to that, you would be paid 10% per annum. 10% would given. Conversion option එකක් තියෙනවා. හරිද? දැන් ඊළඟට ඕන එනවා ඊළඟ ප්‍රස්තුතය. හරි? දැන් මෙතන 10ක් ගෙවුවා. There are two benefits basically. ඊට පස්සේ ඔයාට මේ දැන් ඔයා දාපු සල්ලි ඔයාට ආපහු හම්බ වෙනව හොඳද? You would get 500,000 at the end of the term. You would get 500,000. Remember, this conversion option is a kind of benefit, return for the investment, conversion option, interest, and you would be getting capital again. After 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you would get this 500,000 again. Hari, eta man capital කියලා දාන්න. එකද ලැබෙනවා. හරි? Right. දැන් එනවා there is a another entity issuing debenture without conversion option. Debenture. Here no conversion option. Interest. Capital එක කොහොමද ලැබෙනවනේ? That is the nature නේ. Capital එක ලැබෙනවා. ඒක මේකේ තියෙනවා මේකේ තියෙනවා. හරි. Then you need to decide at which company that you are going to invest. Now දැන් පුතා කිව්වේ මේක 8යි කියලා නේ. පුතා කිව්වේ මේක 8යි කියලා. මං අහනවා කවුද 108 වුණොත් මේකට ආයෝජනය කරන්නේ කවුද? Who will invest? මට කියන්න කවුරු වගේ කෙනෙක් මේකට ආයෝජනය කරයිද? There is no benefit on conversion or no conversion option. Interest එක 108යි. කවුද invest කරන්න කියන්නකෝ මේකට? Anyone in the planet? Who will invest? කවුද invest කරන්නේ ඒකට? ඔයා invest කරනවද? දැන් ඔයාලගෙන් කවුද invest කරන්න කියන්නේ? Are you going to invest at 8% in entity B? Are you going to invest on entity A or entity B? ඔයාගේ ලක්ෂ අහිංසක ලක්ෂ 5ක් තියෙනවා. ඔයා ආයෝජනය කරන්නේ entity A එකේද entity B එකේද? මේ විදියට තිබ්බොත්. entity A or entity B?
A.
entity A. එහෙනම් පුතා entity B එක මිනිස්සු attract කරගන්නේ කොහමද? පුළුවන් ද 8% වලට වැඩි කරන්න? No, this should be higher than 10%. This should be maybe 13%, 14%. Otherwise, how entity B attract people? Now, entity A is issuing convertible debentures. That's a kind of benefit. People are motivated to invest. ඒක නිසා interest එක අඩු කරනවා ටිකක්. හරි ඇයි එයාට මේ conversion option එකක් දෙනවනේ. හරිද? එතකොට 10% දෙන්න. දැන් මේව මොනවද නැත්නම් 14%. again I'm giving just an example. 8% නෙමෙයි හොඳද? පැහැදිලිද මං කියපු එක? Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
This is the normal interest rate. Normal interest rate for a debenture. This is the market rate debenture. Because of the conversion option, මෙයා අඩු කරලා තියෙන්නේ පුතා. එයා අඩු කරලා තියෙන්නේ. Because of the conversion option. Right. Hope that is clear. පුතාලට පැහැදිලිද ඒ කාරණාව? තේරුණාද ඒ කියපු එක?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right. Good. Very good. අපි දැන් යමු මෙතෙන්ට. compounded instrument, compounded financial instruments. Some financial instruments contain both liability and equity element. In such cases, LKS 32 require the component parts of the instrument to be classified separately according to the substance of the contractual arrangement and the definition of liability and the equity instrument. Right? Already you have written it. Compounded instrument. First, you should focus on the liability component. Then you should take the balancing figure. You should take the balancing figure. Right? Right. Okay. So this one, critical features of differentiating between liability and equity, contractual payment obligation. So para 32 of the standard, interest payment and the repayment of debt. I already told you capital amount, interest payments. Those are the things that you need to consider. Those things need to be taken into consideration in order to calculate liability. Okay. Then contractual components of financial instrument that creates financial liability of the entity, convertible bonds. So I already gave you some examples. Right. Activity number 1. Activity number 1. Right. I will read for you. I will read this activity number 1 for you. I'm giving some chances for you to think and answer. Hari? මම පොඩි hints ටිකක් දීලා තියෙනවා දැන්. අපි බලමු your application. ඔයාගේ application එක මට බලන්න ඕනේ. Earlier PLC issued 2000 convertible bonds at start of 2002. The bond have 3-year term. Issued par with face value of 100,000. There are 2,000 into 100,000. There are 200 million. 200 million. Hari the 200 million. Hari. ඒක තියෙනවා පුතා මේ තියෙන. Giving total proceed 200 million. Interest is payable annually in arrears. Nominal annual interest rate 6%. පුතා. කීයද පුතා interest එක? Interest එක කීයද? 200 million into 6%. කීයද එන්නේ? කීයද? Calculate and tell me. What is the annual interest? 12 million, right? 12 million. Each bond is convertible at the maturity into 250 ordinary shares. That is the condition. Yeah, 250 ordinary shares දෙනවා. Each bond. So 250 2000 දෙනවා. ඒක විලා at the end of the year 3, this early entity should issue these standards, these shares. Right? When the bonds are issued, the prevailing market interest rate for similar bonds, similar debt without conversion option is 9%. මේ බලන්න. මෙතන 106යි ගෙව්වේ. හැබැයි market එකේ තියෙන similar bond without having conversion option, that is 9%. Look at this. දැන් ඇයි ඒක දෙන්නේ කියන එක ඔයා හිතන්න ඕන පුතා. Why that rate is given? You should think. You should think. Right? Right. Okay. දැන් එනම් පුතාලා ආහා පුරා කියලා ගාන හදන්න. I just gave you the content, but I have not explained how to calculate. What are the rates to be applied? You should do that. Because මේක ඇවිල්ලා මං හිතනවා ඔයාලා ඉගෙනගෙන තියෙන එකක්. කලින් semester එකේ මතක් කරලා දෙන වැඩක් නෙමෙයි කරන්නේ. Please apply and I need to know the liability component and the equity component. All right, now what's the time? Now what's the time? 9:30 the 9:37. Now it's a good time to take a break. Ne? We spent 1.5 hours. We'll take a small break now. Once you come back, then ඔයාලට මම මේ ගානක් දීලා break එක දෙන්නේ for you to motivate to come back early and answer. හරි? Refresh and come back and answer the question. Hurry. Now you can take around 15 minutes break. 15 minutes break. Hurry ne? ආපු ගමන් ගාන හදන්න ගන්නව හැමෝම මට පේනවා ඔයගලක ආවද නැද්ද කියලා. කැමරා සෙට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක නිසා refresh and come. Right, okay, take a small break now. මම මේක share කරලා තියෙනවා. Screen එකේ share කරලා තියන්නම් ගාන. ආපු ගමන් හදන්න. Right, okay. Enjoy the break. Enjoy the break. Right, okay. Shall we discuss the answer? Shall we discuss the answer now? Okay. First, I wanted to ask a couple of questions. Right. Who is the batch representative here? With the name? What is the name of him or her? batch representative ගේ නම මොකද්ද? නැද්ද batch representative? හරි අපි මේ ඉස්සරහ ඉන්න කළු පාට ගඳන් ඉන්න පුතාගේ නම මොකද්ද?
Prashant.
රොෂාන්. right. රොෂාන් ගාව අද සල්ලි තියෙනවද සාක්කුවේ?
Yeah.
Roshan, do you have money today?
Yes.
Do you have money? සල්ලි කීයක් තියෙනවද?
2000.
Right, 2000. I will write 2000 here. Roshan, මම මෙතන ලියනවා. Roshan is having 2000 year 0. Now year 0. Right. Tell me the future value of this 2000. Future value. අනාගත අගය 2000ට වඩා වැඩිද අඩුද? අනාගත අගය 2000ට වඩා වැඩිද අඩුද? Yes, වැඩිද අඩුද? Yes. Right, hands up those who are saying higher than lesser than 2000. Lesser than 2000. Hands up please. Lesser than 2000. Right, majority or almost all people, right? Okay, higher than 2000. Higher than anyone in the class. Higher than 2000. Higher. 2000ට වඩා වැඩි කියන අතුස්සන්න බලන්න. Vijay Singh, are you Vijay Singh, online student? ඔය අත උස්සන් ඉන්නේ මොකටද? අතපහත් කරා. Right. Okay, meaning no one in the class for higher, right? වැඩි කියන එකට කවුරුවත් නැහැ නේද? වැරදිලා හරි ඉන්නවද කවුරු හරි? ආපහු අහනවා. Anyone in the class? Higher than 2000. Higher than 2000. No one, eh? Hari. Abi බලමු. We'll see. Right. Roshan, now you have 2000 today. What you are going to do with this 2000? This is additional money. Suppose this is additional money, not for eating, not for drinking, not for anything else. This is additional money. What you are going to do with this 2000? What you are going to do with this 2000? Yes? Kian, මොකද කරන්නේ 2000ට? You will invest, right? That is the obvious answer. You will invest. Hari. Let's say we are going to invest at BOC at a rate of 10%. Year 1. කීයද ගාන? අද 2000ක් ගිහලා බැංකුවේ දැම්මොත් අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ කීයක් ගන්න පුළුවන්ද if the interest rate is 10%? කොයි ඉතින් කියන්න ඕනේ ඉතින්. කවුරු හරි ඒ දරුවෝ විතර නෙමෙයි අනිත් අය කියන්න. 2200, right? 200ක් පොලියනේ පුතා. තව අවුරුද්දක් තියමු. 2200 10ක් ගැහුවම 220ක් පොලිය. එතකොට 2420යි. 2420ක් ඔයාට ගන්න පුළුවන් දෙවන අවුරුද්ද. අපි අවුරුදු 3කට යමු. 242ක් පොලිය. හරි? 2යි 6යි 6යි 2යි. 2662යි. Right, okay. Tell me, Roshan කියන්න අද රුපියල් 2000ක් තිබ්බොත් අවුරුදු 3කට පස්සේ වාගේ 2000 කීයක් වෙනවද? Roshan කියන්න. අද 2000යි අවුරුදු 3කට පස්සේ වාගේ 2000ට මොකද වෙන්නේ? 2662 වෙනවා. 2662 වෙනවා. 2000ට වඩා 2662 ලොකුද පොඩිද? Higher or lower? Higher or lower? Higher or lower? Tell me. Higher. Higher. Hari? අද 2000ක් තිබ්බොත් අවුරුදු 3කට පස්සේ ඔයාගේ 2662කට පැටව ගසවන්න පුළුවන්ද බැරිද? පැටව ගසවන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ පොලියෙන් ඔයා that is called return, right? You are getting return. If you have money today, you can invest and earn something out of it. Okay, you can earn out of something on that investment, right? Hari පුතා දැන් මට ඕන ඔයාගේ අවුරුදු මේ ආයෝජනේ අවුරුදු 100කට පස්සේ අනාගතගේ හොයා ගන්න ඕනේ මට. අනාගතගේ හොයා ගන්න ඕනේ. කීයද ගන්න? අද 2000ක් ලංක බැංකුවේ දැම්මොත් අවුරුදු 100කට පස්සේ ඔයාලට කීයක් withdraw කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? Tell me. දැන් ඔය අතර අවුරුද්දෙන් අවුරුද්ද හදනවද 100 වෙනකම්? දත් හැලෙනකම් හදන්න වෙනවා එතකොට. You have to have an equation. You have to have an equation. What is the equation? You have seen this equation before. Future value equals present value 1 plus r power of n. Did you see this equation before? මේ equation එක කලින් දැකලා තියෙනවද කියන්නේ මට හැමෝම? දැකලා තියෙනවා. දැකලා තියෙනවා. Maybe finance subject, maybe mathematics, අපේ රමේෂ් උගන්වන්නේ නැති නේ? Mathematics or finance subject, business finance, you have learned this equation. Future value equals present value 1 plus r power of n. Right, we'll check this equation whether this is correct or wrong. Present value is 2000. අදාගේ 2000යි. එක දාන r අපි අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ ගන්න හොයමු මේක හොයමු. r 1.1යි 10යි 1යි කීයද ගන්න? 2200 එනවනේ පුතා. අපි තුන්වෙනි අවුරුද්දේ බලමු. 2000 1.013 උත්තර කියන්න කීයද කියලා 2662 එනවද බලන්න. Did you get 2662? Double check. Did you get it? ලැබුණද?
Yes.
ලැබුණද? Yes. හරි. දැන් අවුරුදු 100කට පස්සේ ගන්නත් හොයන්න ඕම. ඒ කියන්නේ equation එක sure නේද? ඔහම 100 දාලා හද. කීයද ගන්න? 2000 into 1.1 power of 100. කීයද එන්නේ? 10,561,225 rupees. ලක්ෂ 275ක්. ලක්ෂ 275ක්. 27 million. Did you get this answer? Did you get this answer? ලැබුණද ඒ ගාන? Did you get it?
Yes.
අර ලැබුච්ච ගාන ලැබුණද? Did you get this answer?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. ඉතින් පුතා 2000ට වඩා ඒක වැඩි නැද්ද? අද 2000යි. ඒකේ අනාගතගේ වැඩි නැද්ද? ඇයි ඔයාලා අඩුයි කිව්වේ? දැන් ඔයාලා ඔය equation එකට දාලාම හදන සංඛ්‍යාව ගැනනේ මම ඇහුවේ. Future value වැඩිද අඩුද කියලා. The entire class said lower. Why? දැන් මේ පුතා ගාව අද රුපියල් 2000ක් තිබ්බනේ. ඒක නිසා අය ආයෝ ඔයාලා උත්තරේ දුන්නේ ෆයිනෑන්ස් වලින්ද ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවෙන්ද? You gave based on economics or else finance. You gave based on economics. You gave the answer for purchasing power, not the future value. If there is an inflation, yes, purchasing power will decrease. But I was not asking that question. I was not asking that. I was asking future value. Anagatagaya. But you gave the answer for purchasing power. දැන් මෙහෙමනේ ඒක නිකන් අර සරමක් ගන්න ඔළුවෙන් හිටගෙන වගේ. යා ඒ කියන්නේ ලැබෙන්නේ එක උත්තරයක් කියන්නේ තව එකක්. So completely wrong. Okay. ඒ නිසා අපේ රටටත් මෙහෙම වෙලා තියෙන එකයි. ඒ කියන්නේ context you misunderstood. ඒක ඔයාලගේ විතරක් නෙමෙයි අවුල තියෙන්නේ. Entire set of people who did commerce because they learned economics, purchasing power. Right? You are thinking, ඔයාලා නෙමෙයි ඔයාලට උගන්වපු අය. Particularly A levels. හරිද? හරි මම ඒක පැහැදිලි කරන්නම් මෙහෙම. දැන් තේරුම් ගන්න එතකොට. පුතා search කරන්න time value of money කියන්නේ මොකද්ද කියලා? Search time value of money. Entire class should do that. I will clear the concepts. Search time value of money. මම search කරන්න මෙතන. Right, you can see what is time value of money. Look at this. The time value of money means that sum of money is worth more now. Puta, hondra තේරුම් ගන්න ඒක. Sum of money is worth more now. දැන් ඔයා ගාව තියෙන රුපියල් 2000 අද තියෙන එක වඩා වටිනවද නැද්ද? එම මුදලම අනාගත දවසක තියෙනවට වඩා. අන්න ඒකයි අතන අදහස පුතා. හරි ඕක තමයි ඔය පටලවාගෙන දරුවන්ට උගන්වන්නේ. ඒක නිසා කියන අනාගතගේ අඩුයි කියලා කියනවා. එහෙම එකක් නෙමෙයි මේ කියන්නේ. That is not the concept. තේරුණාද කියන එක? Is that clear? What is time value of money? If you have money now, that is more worth. යම් මුදලක් අද තියෙනවා නම් පුතා ඒක වටිනවා එම මුදල අනාගත දවසක තියෙනවට වඩා. ඔය concept එක තමයි අනිත් පැත්තට තේරුම් අරගෙන දරුවන්ට උගන්වලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? පුතා දැන් හිතන්න ඔයා ගාව රුපියල් 100ක් තිබ්බත් අද you can invest and earn. අපේ රටට උනේ ඕක තමයි. හරිද? මිනිස්සු ණය වෙනවා හත් පොලේ. ඇයි හිතනවා සල්ලි තියෙනක වැඩක් නැහැ කියලා. ඒ නිසා if you have something you can invest and earn. There is a earning potential. Let me show you that. Look at this. The principle of the time value of money means that it can grow only through investing. So delayed investment is a lost opportunity. Lost opportunity. මේකේ තව definitions තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. තව එක තියෙනවා there is a earning potential කියලා තියෙනවා. There is a earning potential. There is a earning potential. The time value of money is a concept that sum of money is worth more now than sum of same sum will be at future date due to its earning potential in the interim. Look at this. Because it has earning potential. If you have something, if you have money, then you turn out on it. This is the future value equation. Look at this. Now I want to derive present value. I want to derive present value. I will write future value again. How to derive present value? We can divide both sides by 1 plus r power of n. This one cut. the present value equals future value divided by 1 plus r power of n. Make sense? Did you understand that? Did you understand that? Huh?
Yes.
How to derive present value equation? Please write down that. Present value equals future value divided by 1 plus r power of n. Write down, please. Okay, now let's say you wanted to calculate present value. Make a present value equals. Let's say you would be getting 2,662 rupees at the end of the third year. That is the future value. 1 plus r power of n. Check whether you would be getting 2,000 here. That is the present value. Did you get 2,000?
Yes.
Yes. Got 2,000, right? Right. Now I will tell you here 1, 2, 3 cash flow. Sorry. Then මට ඕන පුතේ present value එක හොයාගන්න අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ ලැබෙන රුපියලක. Let's say you would be getting 1 rupee at the end of the first year. You would be getting 1 rupee at the end of the first year. What is the present value of that 1 rupee? Tell me. Use the equation and tell me. At the end of the first year, you will be getting 1 rupee. අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ රුපියලක් ලැබෙනවා. ඒකේ අදාගේ කීයද පුතාලා කියන්න ටක් ගාලා. කීයද? Use your calculator and tell me. At the end of the first year, you would be getting 1 rupee. මේ වගේ එකක් නේ මං කියන්නේ අද බිඳුව. බිඳුව කියන්නේ අදාගය. අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ රුපියලක් ලැබෙනවා. රුපියලක්. ඒක අදාගය කීයද? So you can use this equation. Future value is 1 rupee. 1 divided by 1.1 power of 1. කීයද එන්නේ? 0.909. Did you get this number? Did you see that number before? A number එක කලින් දැකලා තියෙනවද? Did you see that number before? Yes, you have learned. When you were doing your A levels, you have seen that number. At the rate of 10%, you have seen that number. Right? Give me one. Right. Okay. So we'll do the same calculation for second year. You will be getting 1 rupee at the end of the second year. Again, ada bindu එක දෙක රුපියලක් ලැබෙනවා මෙදාට. අදාගේ කීයද? මේකට දෙක දාලා හදන්න කීයද කියලා? කීයද? Did you get 0.826? Yes, you received it. ඔය numbers වලට හුරුයි නේද? දැකලා තියෙනවනේ. පුතා ඒකේ අදහස මොකද්ද? The present value of 1 rupee which will be receiving or paid at the end of the second year is 83 cents. 783යි. අවුරුදු දෙකකට පස්සේ ලැබෙන රුපියලක අදාගය 783යි. පැහැදිලිද? මේක අදහස අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ ලැබෙන රුපියලක අදාගය 791යි. Present value of 1 rupee which will be receiving or paying at the end of the first year is 91 cents. 791යි. 791යි. Is that clear? පැහැදිලිද පුතාලට කියපු එක? Right. We'll do the third one. At the end of the third year, you would be getting 1 rupee. What is the present value of it? මේක 3 දාලා හදන්න කිය දෙන්නේ. 0.751 එකක් එනවද බලන්න. Did you get it? Right, you received it. පුතා මේකේ අදහස මොකද්ද? Present value of 1 rupee which will be receiving or paying at the end of the third year is 75 cents. In other words, if you have 75 cents today, you can get 1 rupee at the end of year 3. බලමු එනවද කියලා. පුතා ගාව අද 775ක් තියෙනවා. අපි 7 පැත්තකට දාන්න 75ක් තියෙනවා කියලා හිතන්න රුපියල්. අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ කීයද? 7.5ක් පොලියනේ. එතන 83යි. approximately. තව අවුරුද්දක් තියපො 91යි. 8.3ක් පොලියනේ. එතන 91යි නේ පුතා. එතන 9.91කට 10 කියන්නේ 9යි. 9.1යි. එහෙනම් මෙතන 100යි එනවනේ පුතා. ඕනනම් දැන් දශම ස්ථාන තියාගන්න මෙහෙම. එක මෙතන, right? If you have 75 cents now, you can get 1 rupee at the end of the third year at the rate of 10%. Is that clear? Is that clear? තේරුණාද කියපු එක? These are called discounting factors or discounted factors. These are called discounted factors, right? Discounted factors. Okay. ඔයාලා දැකලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මේ තියෙන පුතා රුපියලක ගානනේ. එහෙනම් රුපියල් ලක්ෂයකක කීයද? රුපියලක present value එක මේක. එහෙනම් ඔයා වැඩි කරන්නේ ලක්ෂයක මේක රුපියලක ගාන නිසා. ලක්ෂය කීයද? 90900යි. That's why you multiplied. That's why you multiplied. Right? හරි. දැන් තේරුණාද වැඩි? Did you understand? Either multiply by, them blindly or not? Blindly or not? I mean, when you were at level, blindly the වැඩි කරේ අවබෝධයෙන්ද වැඩි කරේ? බලන්න. You should know how to interpret discounting factor. Discounting factor. If you have money today, that is more worth. That is more worth. Right? That is the message that you need to inculcate. That is the message that you should inculcate. If you have money today, that is more worth. Please keep that in your mind, right? Are puta. Then mata one. Cash flows. You should know how to calculate the present value, right? In this sum, answer for practice question number 1. Answer for practice question number 1. What are the cash flows? Year 1, 2, 3. What are the cash flows? 12 million, 12 million, 12 million, right? In addition to this, we should pay 200 million. NTD should pay 200 million. So total cash flow, 12, 12, 212, right? May this year $12. Discounting factor. You should discount these cash flows at which rate? What discount කරන්නේ මොන rate එකකටද? In this sum. මොන rate එකකටද? Huh? Now here you are given two rates, 6% and 9%. What is the normal market rate for this debenture? Bond, sorry. What is the normal market rate?
9.
9%. So you should discount these cash flows at 9%. Harida. Puta, in a 9% discounting factor ගන්න දැන් ටුක් ගාලා. දැන් කියා දීලා තියෙන how to take the discounting factors. 1 divided by 1, 0.09, 1 දාන්න 2 දාන්න 3 දාන්න. ටක් ගාලා හොයලා කියන්න. 0.917. රුපියලක ගාන පුතා multiply by 12. ඔහොම වැඩි කරලා ගෙන්න 12 වලින් 11යි. ඊට පස්සේ එක බෙදීම 1.09 power of 2. You would be getting 0.842. වැඩි කරන්න 12න්. එහෙම කැල්ලකින් ගාතයගේ 10යි. Right? Now 1 divided by 1.09 power of 3. 0.772. Multiply by 212. 163.7. 0.1 ආවේ නේ. 1 එකකුත් ආව නේද? Yes, 10.1. Yes, 11.00. 11.00. Right, now calculate the total present value. මේ තමයි පුතේ present value. එතකොට කීය දෙන්නේ? 11යි 10.1යි 163.7යි 184.8යි. Is the present value of cash flows. This is the liability component. Liability component, right? So we received 200 million cash. We received 200 million cash. Out of that, 184.8 million liability. Then what is the equity component? Equity equals 200 minus 184.8. පුතේ කීයද? 15.2 million. Did you get these answers? Did you get these answers? Did you get these answers? ලැබුණද?
Yes, yes.
දැන් පුතාට තේරුණාද time value of money කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Future value present value මොකක්ද කියලා තේරුණාද? යම් මට්ටමකට හරි.
Yes.
Misunderstanding එකක් තිබ්බද නැද්ද? තිබ්බද නැද්ද? You gave the answer for time value. Sorry, you gave the answer for the purchasing power, right? Purchasing power and the future value, present value, different concepts. දැන් අර අපේ පුතාට රුපියල් 2000 අද රුපියල් 2000 අවුරුදු 100කට පස්සේ මිලියන 27ක් එනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකට අවුරුදු 100කට පස්සේ පාන් ගෙඩියක් මිලියන 25ක් වෙයි සමහර විට. That's a different story. I did not ask that. That's a purchasing power. That's a purchasing power. Remember, if there is no inflation in a country, dilute on the economic inflation, right? So therefore, try to understand concepts clearly. It's very important. Time value of money, that is the major concept. Then future value, present value, those are the related concepts. Purchasing power, that is a different concept based on economics. Harida? Is that clear? Is that clear? Hari. අපි යමු ඊළඟ ගානට මේක හදන්න දැන්. ටක් ගාලා හදන්න. Do it now. Right, shall we discuss the answer? Okay, I'm going to give you the answer for practice question number 2. Let me read. Upul PLC issued 30,000 convertible preference shares at the start of 2022, right? Give me 1 minute. The shares have a 10-year term and are issued at 100 per share. එතකොට 100යි 100 ගානේ 30000යි. එතකොට කීයද? 3 million. This is the proceed. Cash proceed is 3 million. Dividend is payable annually in arrears. The nominal annual rate of 16%. 3 million into 16%. කීයද පුතා? 480,000. That is the interest. Each share is convertible at the maturity into one ordinary share. When the shares are issued, the prevailing market rate similar instrument without conversion option is 25%. That is the rate that you should use to discount the cash flows. And more or less similar question. Year පුතා එතකොට මේක අවුරුදු කීයක්ද? මේකේ අලුත් දෙයක් තියෙන උගන්නන්න. අලුත් කියන්නේ ඔයාලා දන්න දෙයක්. 10 years නේ. ඔයාලා මෙහෙමද කරේ? year 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. ඔබමද ලිව්වේ? ඔබලා එහෙමද ලිව්වේ කියලා? Did you write on that way? Hands up those who have did on that way. අවුරුදු 10 එහෙම දාලා cash flow. මම ඒක උත්තරේ දාලා ඉන්නම්කෝ. Cash flow 480,000. 480,000. මෙතන එනවා අතර 3,480,000 ඈ. අය මිලියන 3ත් අපි ගෙවන්න එපා. Discounting factor 25%. 25%. $0.8. 0.64. 0.512. 0.409, 0.327, 0.262, 0.209, 0.167, 0.134, 0.107. Did you? Then you calculated present value. Make a වැඩි කරා make mm. Did you do on that way? ඔබලන් එහෙම කරපුවා තුස්සන් බලන්න. එහෙමද කළේ? කොයි දින් කියන්නකෝ. Did you do on that way? Yes නම් අතුස්සන්න බලන්න. හරි එහෙනම් කොහමද කරේ? What did you do? Then you should take the total of these cash flows. Harida, total of these total of these discounting factors. Total of these discounting factors. Buddha, me ටික එකතුව කීයද? What is the total of discounting factors? What is the total of discounting factors? Tell me. What is the total of discounting factors? කොයි ඉතින් කියන්නේ නැහැ නේ කවුරුවක්වත්. What is the total of discounting factors? ඔයාලා කොහොමද හැදුවේ කියන්න? How did you calculate it? කලේ නැද්ද? උත්තරේ හැදුවේ නැද්ද? Okay, what is the equity component? Pink color පුතා කියන්න equity component එක කීයද කියලා? pink color පුතා කියන්නේ equity component. මට ඇහෙන්නේ
964,500.
900
964,000.
900
64,500.
500, right? Then liability component
2 million. 35,000.
35,500, right? Liability component, equity component, right? Okay, we'll see whether these answers are correct or wrong. පුතාට ආපු discounting factor ඔයා හැදුවේ මෙහෙම වෙන වෙනම ලියලාද එහෙම නැත්නම් discounting factors වල එකතු අරගෙනද?
එකතුවයි.
පුතාකෝ එකතුව කීයද discounting factors වල?
3.57.
3.57.
57.
Very good. How did you calculate this? පුතාලා ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න, this is called annuity factor. හරිද? This is called annuity factor. වාර්ෂිකය කියලා අහලා ඇතිනේ ඔයාලා ඉගෙනගෙන ඇති. වාර්ෂිකය annuity factor. Annuity factor means total of discounting factors. හරිද? එතකොට 1 minus 1 over 1 plus r power of n over r. This is the equation. Write down the equation. Write down the equation. Write down the equation. Annuity factor equals 1 minus 1 over 1 plus r power of n over r. හරිද? දැන් අපි equation එක සුළු කරලා බලමු. 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 0.25. එතන 125 කියන්නේ 0.25. අවුරුදු 10යි 10 years. හරි. Then that answer should be divided by r. 0.25. r එකෙන් බෙදන්න. හරි. Take your calculator out. ගන්න හැමෝම කැල්ල එක එළියට. ඒතර එක බෙදීම ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ කැල්ල ගහමු. එක බෙදීම 1.25 10 වන බලය. 1 divided by 1.25 power of 10. Press equal. Press equal. What is the answer that you have received? 0.107374182. Did you get it? ලැබුණද ඒ උත්තරේ? Yes? Yes. Right. Now you should deduct that one from 1. 1 minus answer equal. 1 minus answer equal. ගහන්න. 1 minus answer equal. දැන් මේකට උත්තරේ තියෙනනේ පුතාලට. එක ගහලා ඍණ ගහලා answer ගහන්න. Equal ගහන්න. Then you have received 0.8926258817. Did you get it? ලැබුණද? ලැබුණද? මේ උඩ කැලලට උත්තරේ තමයි 0.8926258817. That answer should be divided by 0.25. කොහොමද කියලා 0.25 ගන්න. එතකොට ලැබෙනවා 3.57050,327. This is the annuity factor. පුතා කියපු උත්තරේ හරියටම හරි. 3.57050,327. Did you get that answer? Yes. දැන් පුතා කරන්නේ කොහොමද දන්නවද? Year 1 to 10 cash flow 480,000. Year 10 3 million. වෙන වෙනම ලියන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මෙතන cash flows වෙනස් නේ. එතකොට discounting factor මේ එක ඉඳන් 10ට කියන්නේ ඔයා අර 3.5705 yes. Every year same cash flow, no? Unique cash flow. Therefore, you can multiply by this. කෙලින්ම 4,80,000 වැඩි කරන්න. 1,713,841.57. right? දැන් ඔයා මෙන්න මෙතන discount factor එක හොයා ගන්න ඕන. අවුරුදු 10කදී discount factor එක 125. 1 divided by 1.25 power of 10. 0.107. 0.107 multiply by 3 million. $322,122.54. Then 2,035,964. This is the liability component. Then what is the equity component? 3 million minus 2,035,964. $964,035 or 36, approximately 36. There was a double entry වැටෙනවා මෙහෙම. Cash debit 3 million. Financial liability 2,035,964. Equity 964,036. Right. Please write down the answer. Okay, did you understand that? පුතාලට තේරුණාද වැඩේ? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Yes, right. Okay. Okay, we'll do this one. Activity number 2. You should know the classification. You should write the classification. Most appropriate classification. Ordinary shares, what is the classification? Ordinary share, what is the classification? Financial equity. Irredeemable preference shares and redeemable preference shares. Irredeemable. Equity or liability. Irredeemable. අපි නිදහස් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Irredeemable preference shares. Equity or liability? Equity or liability? Equity side. Equity. Redeemable preference shares. Liability. Liability, because there is an obligation. Irredeemable one, there is no obligation. Ordinary shares, no obligation. Right? That's equity. These are the answers. Look at this. Irredeemable preference shares, no obligation. Redeemable embodies obligation. Right? Is that clear? Please take a, what do you call, snapshot of this. Take it. Right. That is the end of today's lecture. පුතාලා දැන් ඔය equity component liability component කලින් ඉගෙන ගත්තේ නැද්ද? අවංකවම කියන මට දැන ගැනීම සඳහා අහන්නේ. ඉගෙන ගත්තේ නැද්ද කලින්? Is this very first time or second time? A liability compound instrument first time or second time? Huh? අනේ උත්තරයක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහනේ.
Second time.
Second time. Right. Okay, second time. Okay, I hope you refresh your knowledge, right, in terms of financial instruments. Presentation. LK2 completed. Harry? Next day, I will be taking you through on financial instruments, recognition and measurement. We'll try to do impairment as well. පොඩ්ඩක් ස්ටඩි කරලා එන්න පුතා නැත්නම් හරි අමාරුයි දැන් තා අපරාධ වෙලාව දැන් අද පැය 3ම ගියා මේක උගන්නන්න. ඒ නිසා පොඩ්ඩක් ස්ටඩි කරලා එන්න because you have learned already, so we need to touch new things other than old things, or is already you have learned things. Right, with that note I will conclude today's session. Thank you for attending today's lecture. Next Saturday we will be meeting physically. Right, I will be attending physical class. Right, thank you very much. We'll wind up for the day. Thank you.